In the last video, we discussed that transactions are first recorded in the journal and then posted in the ledger. But in practicality, if we see, business transactions are very voluminous and it becomes very difficult to record all transactions in only one book, that is the journal. For example, in a business, most of the transactions may relate to cash or sale of goods and their purchases. So, it is convenient to maintain a separate book for each such class of transactions. One for cash, one for purchases, one for sales. So, it is convenient to maintain a separate book. A book of this type is called a book of original entry and it is a subdivision of the journal. So these subdivisions are called subsidiary books. Now, in the subsidiary book, now we will see the first kind of subsidiary book, which is the cash book. It is a book of prime entry in which both the cash and the bank transactions of the business are recorded in a chronological order. In this book, only cash and bank transactions are recorded. All the cash and check receipts will be recorded on the debit side, and all expenses and check payments will be recorded on the credit side. So this cash book, it performs a function of both journal and ledger at the same time. It is a book of original entry as well as a ledger. Cash transactions are first recorded in the cash book, and on the basis of such record, ledger accounts are prepared. Thus, cash book is a subsidiary book. So, in principle, it is also a ledger. It is both a subsidiary book and a ledger. Now, cash books can be of two types. You have a single column cash book or double column cash book in which cash and bank transactions are recorded, and a triple column cash book in which discount, cash and bank columns are made. The format of a cash book is similar to a ledger. You have debit, credit on top, cash book on your left side, particulars, cash, bank, particulars, cash, bank. The first opening entry will be the balance. Now, cash balance will always be on the debit side. Okay, the opening balance of cash will always be on the debit side. So, to balance brought down will be 0. Cash column in cash book can't show a credit balance because cash payments cannot exceed cash receipts. You cannot have your cash payments in negative. At best, it will show a nil balance. But for the bank, you can have an opening balance on the credit side. Bank allows a credit facility by way of overdraft. So, any firm which enjoys overdraft facility from the bank can draw money from bank up to the limit. That amount withdrawn in excess of its own balance, amount withdrawn in excess of deposits are called as bank overdrafts, which will be shown on the credit side. Remember, cash column will always have a debit balance which will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet, but bank column can have either a debit or a credit balance which can be shown on either the asset or the liabilities side of the balance sheet. Also note, credit purchases won't be recorded in cash book since cash book is maintained only to record cash transactions, and discount allowed transactions will be recorded in the journal entries, and whatever entries which will involve both cash and bank accounts will be shown by will be called contra entries. Okay, so contra entries are those entries in the cash book which they deal with those transactions which deal with the accounts of cash and bank. See, for example, we used to write journal entries for drawings or for cash withdrawn from bank for office use. So that transaction will reflect both on your cash column as well as your bank column on either sides, on either the debit and the credit side, and this transaction will be marked with a C, which is known as contra entry. Now let's do a problem to better understand how to go about the cash book. Enter the following transactions of Messrs Premier Trading Company in cash book with bank column, and the balance in the cash book as on 31st December has been given here. So my first step would be to draw the pro forma of the cash book. Here, as you can see, I will write in the books of my company, which is Messrs Premier Trading Company, and then the heading cash book. On my debit side, credit side, I'll write down date, particulars, and my columns, cash column, bank column, and LF. Okay, so this ledger folio column will be used to record all those transactions which are contra entry. Okay, similarly on my credit side. Okay, now that I have drawn up my pro forma, I will write down the balances. So the first two, okay, you can see here cash in hand 40,000 and bank overdraft 1 lakh. Okay, so bank overdraft means our bank account is having a credit opening balance. We will record the opening balance of the bank account on the credit side. Okay, so let's record the opening entry. 2014 1st December to balance brought down 40,000. Okay, and on my credit side, okay, I am having a bank overdraft of 1 lakh. So this I will record on my credit side. 2014 1st December by, remember always entries on the credit side in any ledger will be written with by balance brought down 1 lakh. Okay, now let's go and see the next transaction. We have received a check from Ram Lal on account of rupees 29,000, and a discount has been allowed by him for rupees 400. Okay, so now in this case, and then see the next transaction. Ram Lal's check has been deposited into bank. So that means this transaction we will record it in the journal, because it has not yet, because this check has not been deposited in the bank as yet. Okay, so we will write a journal entry. In our journal, we'll write the date 2014 3rd December, check in hand, because this has not been deposited in the bank as yet. Account debit 29,000, discount allowed account 400 to Ramlal account 29,400. Being check received from Ramlal of rupees 29,000 and allowed him cash discount of rupees 400. Usually cash discounts are given to encourage prompt payment. So this transaction won't be reflected in our cash book because cash or the bank account is not being involved. Now, on December 7th, Ramlal's check has been deposited into the bank. Okay, so now we will write here 7th December to check in hand Ramlal account 29,000 in the bank column because this is a banking transaction. Okay. Yeah. Now the next transaction, let's see. We have paid salaries for the month of November in cash. How much? 29,000. 28,000. Okay. So we will this is an expense and we record expenses on the credit side. I'll write down the date 7th December by salaries account. How much is the amount? 28,000 in cash. 28,000. Okay, now the next transaction, see here. December 10th, we have withdrawn from bank for office use for 8,000. Okay. Now, any transaction, okay, so what would the journal entry be for withdrawing money from the bank? Cash account, debit to bank account, right? So, now when you are going to post this in the cash book, this is going to be a contra entry. You will first have to treat one easy trick for you to record these contra entries. So what are the accounts involved? Cash and bank. So think this is only cash account. There is no bank. Okay, this is only cash account. So how will you record in a cash account? Cash account debit to bank because bank is coming in, right? So over here on 10th December, I will write to bank account contra because it's a contra entry because both the accounts are involved. 8,000 in the cash column because I am writing this transaction from the point of view of cash. Okay, cash book. Now I will do the same thing and on top I will only assume this is bank account and there is no cash column. So how will I record? Now, this is on the credit side, right? So in my bank account I will do by cash account. Okay, I will write by cash account. 10th December by cash account. Contra, I will write in the bank column, not the cash column. Because I am assuming this is my bank book. Okay. I'm writing the transaction from the point of view of the bank. It is simple. You just assume first this is the cash book. And how will you record the entry in the cash ledger, cash account debit to bank account? So it will come on the bank. It will come on the debit side. Now I'm going to assume this entire account is my bank account. There is no cash, there is only bank. So how would I record this transaction in the bank account? I would write by cash. So in this double column cash book, that's double step is being saved. So instead of writing in two separate accounts, we are just writing in one account from each POV. So for my cash book, so from my cash books view, I will debit to bank account contra 8,000 and from my bank accounts view, I will write on the credit side by cash 8,000 on the credit side. Okay. So this is the concept of contra entries. Okay, next transaction is you have paid bills by check. So that means this is a banking transaction. We will write 6,000 in the bank column on the credit side. What is the date? 12th December. 12th December by bills payable. $6,000 in my bank column. Let me see the next transaction now. Bank has returned the check of 29,000 received from Ramlal. Okay, so that means Ramlal's check has been dishonored. How do we usually write a journal entry for check dishonored? We just reverse the transaction, right? So in our journal, we have already written check in hand account debit, discount allowed account debit to Ramlal account. So now we need to reverse this entry. But be mindful, this check has been deposited in the bank on 7th December. This check has been deposited in the bank. So check in hand account debit to bank account. We did not write that in the journal because we have directly recorded it in the cash book. So we need to reverse that entry as well as the discount allowed entry. Seema, there will be one more subsequent entry after this for 7th December, which we are not recording because it has been recorded in the cash book in terms of this transaction. Okay. We have to reverse this also. We need to reverse this transaction and we also need to reverse this discount allowed transaction. Bank account debit to check in hand. I have written this in the cash book. Okay, I have written it here, but now I need to reverse this entry. So in my cash book only I will reverse it. How will I reverse it? I will do check in hand account debit to bank. So what I recorded here on the debit side, I will record it on my credit side. And I will write by Ramlal account. 12th December by Ramlal account. 29,000. Okay, so I have first reversed that entry. Now I will reverse my discount allowed as well. So 12th December, Ramlal account debit to discount allowed. 400, 400. Being check cancelled due to dishonor of check. Okay, this we won't write in the journal because cash book is our book of original entry, right? We record that transaction in the cash book itself. Now let's go to the next transaction. Check received from Chandulal for rupees 2,40,000 and we have allowed him a discount of 10,000. Now see, there is no other transaction which is mentioning that this check from Chandulal has been deposited in the bank. So we can assume that this has been deposited on 15th December itself and we can record this in the books. So what would the journal entry be? Bank account debit, discount allowed debit to Chandulal, right? Now discount allowed we have to record in the journal. The Chandulal check we can write directly in the cash book. So the transaction is on 15th December, 2,40,000 check. Okay. 15th December to Chandulal's account. 2,40,000. Now I will record the discount in my journal. 15th December, discount allowed account debit, 10,000 to Chandulal account. 10,000. Being discount allowed against receipt of check worth rupees 2,40,000. Let's go and see what's the next transaction now. We have paid Gupta by check rupees 92,000 and we have received discount also from Gupta. Okay, fine. This is also okay. No. I have missed one. Sorry. We have issued a check for petty cash. Okay. The transaction will be petty cash account debit to bank. So we will record this on the credit side of the bank book of the bank account. 20 December by petty cash account 1,000. Let's see the next transaction. We have paid to Gupta by check rupees 92,000 and we have received a discount of 3,000. Okay, so we have paid, okay, we have paid a check. We have paid by check and we have received discount. So the transaction, the journal entry would be bank account. The journal entry would be Gupta account debit to bank account to discount received account. So we will first record the bank transaction which will be in the bank book. We are paying a check, okay, we are paying, so that will come on the credit side. We are paying 92,000. Which date? 26th December. Merry Christmas by Gupta. 92,000. Now we will record this in the journal. We will record the discount allowed. Now we will record the discount allowed part. Okay. 26 December. Gupta account debit 3,000 to discount received account 3,000. Being discount received from Gupta on payment of rupees 92,000. Now let's go and see the next transaction. December 28th, cash sales. Okay. By now you should be very thorough with what the cash sale journal entry is, which is cash account debit to sales account. And in case you forget, remember in your cash book, the debit side is receipts and the credit side is expenses. So you can blindly write down on your debit side to sales account 9,000 because and it is in the cash column, okay? Okay, so now we have recorded all our transactions in the cash book and the bank book. We have to now balance the book, okay? Similar to how we were balancing our ledger accounts, we were calculating the closing balance. In the same manner, we will calculate closing balance for both the cash and the bank separately. Okay, so first let us do it for the bank column. For the cash column, let us first calculate for cash column. So on my receipt side, I have 40,000 plus 8,000 plus 9,000, which gives me a total of 57,000. So I will write my total 57,000 and my balance over here also needs to be 57,000. Okay, 57,000. So now from this 57,000 I will minus whatever expenses are there in my cash column. Now I have only one expense which is 28,000. So it is obvious that my debit side is more than my credit side. And then to balance, I will have to make the closing entry on my credit side by balance carried forward or carried down. This is for my cash column, okay? 57,000 minus 28,000. So I will get a balance of 29,000. My closing cash balance is rupees 29,000. Now the same thing I will do for my bank column. I'll first add up whatever is on the credit side and on the debit side. Okay, so on the credit side, my balance, first we should calculate which side balance is more. On my debit side, I have 22,40,000 plus 29,000. Okay. So this is 2,69,000, and on my credit side I have my opening balance is an overdraft. So 1 lakh plus 8,000 plus 6,000 plus 29,000 plus 1,000 plus 92,000. So that gives me a balance of 2,36,000. And this side balance is 2,69,000. So the debit side balance is more than the credit side. The debit side balance is more than the credit side. So to balance both the accounts, my balance will be on the credit side. Okay. My balance will be on the credit side. And how much will my balance be? 2,69,000 minus 2,39,000. Which gives me a balance of 33,000. This is good. My overdraft has been paid off. I now have a positive bank balance. Before, when in the opening of the month, I had a negative bank balance of minus 1 lakh. Now I have a positive bank balance of 33,000. So this total will be 2,69,000. Remember, the bank account can have either a credit or a debit opening and closing balance. And like in this case, we are seeing the opening balances on the credit side as well as the closing balance. This is a favorable scenario in which the bank account first had a negative balance, and then we had sufficient inflow of money through which we could repay our overdraft and also be left with some surplus balance of 33,000. Okay. So this is the procedure of how we record, how we make a cash book, and this is the first subsidiary book. In the next videos, we will see how to make purchase book, purchase return book, sales return book, etc. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.